G'day beauties, welcome back to my channel. I'm Candace from LoveWrapped. Thank you so much for stopping by and welcome back. So this video today is a little bit different. I think I say that a little bit too much actually, but this is a video that most people probably wouldn't expect me to be doing. So I am a Jamberry consultant and I adore Jamberry. Okay, but I also adore my YouTube viewers and I am all about being honest about products. And if there's a product that I don't love, or if there's a product that I feel like has limitations, then I'm going to tell you. And that is what this video is about. This video is going to be 5 truths about lacquer strips. These are lacquer strips here. 5 truths about lacquer strips. So these are not to say that they're not a great product. These are not to say that you shouldn't use them. But this is to say that if you're going to use lacquer strips, or if you do use lacquer strips, you need to be aware of these to get the most out of lacquer strips. And these truths are some of the reasons why I don't love them and they personally don't really work for me. It's not to say I'm never going to use them because, oh my gosh, like these Christmas ones. But you need to work within the limitations of the product in order to get the most out of it and love the product, and that is what this video is about. So if you want to see more, please stay tuned. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you know when I'm posting and when I pop up new videos. I try to pop up new videos every single week, but if there's something you do want to see, please be sure to pop a comment below and I will try and do a video for that. So we're going to start. I'm going to get straight in there and go. So lacquer strips come like this. I have done a video previously on application. I'm going to link that in the description box. If I can figure out how to put like a little link. I'm not that tech savvy just yet, but if I can figure out how to link it, I will link it. So if you do love them or you do want to know how to apply them, they are a great product and they definitely have their pros, but you need to be aware of these 5 things before you make a decision, or you need to try them for yourself, but just be aware of these things so you can get the most out of your lacquer strips and out of your application. So doing your nails should be totally fun, and anything that causes me stress, I tend to avoid. So knowing these things will definitely help. Okay, so number 1 is that they can vary in thickness. So not all lacquer strips are created equal, I guess. So I've got some here, and I'm just gonna show you. You kind of pull the front off and you pull the backing off. And some of them can be a lot more sheer than you would expect. So some of them are quite thin, some of them are a little bit thicker. These ones here are kind of right way in between, so that's not too bad. But some of them are a lot more sheer than this. So if you're used to a wrap application, you are gonna find these a little bit different to work with. So they are quite thin. Or they can be quite thin, and you may open up different packets and find that, oh, these ones feel different than the last lot I got. So some of like the glitter ones, these ones here are actually a little bit sheer, which is not what I expected at all. These tend to be a little bit thinner than, say, your full colored ones. So just be aware of that when you are purchasing, and be aware that some of them can be almost completely sheer and work better with, say, a white base behind it, which could be the smoothing base coat, which gives you a nice little backing, or it could be like a white lacquer. Now, of course, doing that to start with is adding extra time and extra dry time to the product, so be aware of that before you make that decision about what lacquer strip or what product you want to use. Okay, number 2, because of this thinness, they can be a little bit fragile. So they are not going to work like a wrap will, or even like a gel strip. So because of that thickness, with a wrap, you can actually pull and manipulate it quite well. Some of them, because they are quite thin, will, can you see? Tear quite easily. So when you are filing, it is important to take your time with your filing. Use a glass nail file rather than your coarser nail file so that you don't have any chipping happening in the process of actually putting them on. The other thing about them is that they do have the tip, this little pull tab at the top, so that you can use either end. You need to, if you are going to use this end or if you're going to use double end, pull this off very, very gently, okay? Because you do not want a little bit kind of, you know, missing out of the top, or like, I don't know if you can even see, but there, from doing that, there is a little bit of a tear there. So you just need to be a little bit careful and a little bit aware. So each batch that comes through has been getting a lot better. So they've been ironing out a lot of those kinks, but when you're ordering, you don't know what batch you're going to be getting. If you do have issues with them, be sure to reach out to me or to whoever you have ordered them from. So your Jamberry associate, your Jamberry consultant, or whatever. Be sure to reach out. If you're having problems, they can help you, or they can get you a replacement if it's faulty. Okay, number 3, they dry out. Okay, so this is something to be aware of. They can dry out they can be occasionally faulty, or they could be, you know, drier than you were expecting. When they dry out, they become very, very brittle, and they're very, very hard to work with, and they'll chip a lot easier. The reason, the way to avoid this means, get your head together, Candace. This means that once you have opened them, of course, whether you're using 1 strip per nail or whether you're using 2 strips per nail, regardless, you are going to end up with extras. Okay, so my recommendation, or everyone's recommendation, is that you have to store your extras straight away in a Ziploc bag, or you can get like one of those food safe sealers or something like that to kind of reseal your lacquer strips back up. Some people use a straightener to reseal the plastic. I use a Ziploc bag. I then will pop that in a Tupperware, like an airtight Tupperware container, and then I store mine underneath the bathroom sink. Now, this is because this brings me to truth number 4, and that is they don't like heat. Now, I found this out the hard way. Now, I don't mean they don't like heat, that they don't require heat. That is true. They do not require any heat. Unlike wraps, they don't require any heat to apply. So the application process is just peel and stick, right? But they don't like heat, meaning because of the formula and because they are quite thin and because they are a lacquer, it is 20 degrees Celsius today in Australia, and they sit really, really nicely. If this was a hotter temperature and it was a certain lacquer strip, you can have issues on a hot day or in a particularly humid environment, even if you're in air conditioning, of your lacquer strip doing this. And it's a pain, and it's not really a fault. So this is why I store all of my lacquer strips, even when they're like this, underneath the bathroom sink or underneath the kitchen. You want it in a cool environment. Some people put them in the fridge. That might be overkill, but if it's a particularly hot day or you live in a hot climate, I would definitely recommend, you know, considering either keeping them in the fridge or popping them in the fridge or in the freezer for 30 minutes prior to applying. Have a play with them, see what works. If you're unsure about it, definitely grab one of your offcuts or your extras, pop those in the fridge, and then just do a bit of a trial run with your kind of weird shaped extras to see whether they hold up in that heat, because I found out the hard way when I desperately needed to do my mani, and I wanted to do that on a day and it was only about 25 degrees, but they just went, and it was really sad, and I did not realize that that was even the case, and that is why I want to make you guys aware of it. Okay, number 5. This is my big one. This is the one that upset me so bad and will probably upset a lot of jam consultants that I'm coming on to say this. And I apologize if it upsets anybody. But this is all about removal of lacquer strips. So lacquer strips are supposed to be very, very easy to remove, and you're supposed to use our Jamberry lacquer remover, okay? This is an acetone-free lacquer remover. Now you're supposed to remove them. You can break the seal on the side and you remove them like wraps. So you get a little cuticle pusher and you rub it back and forth, and they should come off reasonably easy. I destroyed my nails trying to get my my lacquer strips off this way, and it breaks my heart. My nails are naked now because of this, and it's not to say that this is not a great product, but it's to say you need to be aware, and you need to be aware to take your time with removing these, do them the correct way. The way that I found, the only way I found that I could take them off personally, this is my personal experience with it. It is not gospel at all. Please don't take it as the only way. Some people have had no issues with removing them. So I grabbed the only way I could get them off. I felt like using this baby here, I tried 90s style, you know, back in the 90s, you get your cotton ball and you douse it and then you rub it back and forth. I did that for 10 minutes and the thing wouldn't budge. It felt like gel. The top coat that was on it wouldn't budge. So I had to grab my nail file. I buffed off that top coat with my nail file of the lacquer strip, and then I used my lacquer remover to remove the rest, and it came off without a problem, but it was not the way that was recommended to remove them. So please be aware that don't peel them off, because you are going to strip your nails off. And if you're having issues with the cuticle pusher back and forth, don't persist with that. That is how I ended up with damaging my nails, and now I'm having to nurture them back. So my recommendation, or what I'm definitely going to do going forward, is I am going to be using a smoothing base coat, the Jamberry smoothing base coat underneath anytime I want to use a lacquer strip, because I probably will use them. That is going to create that protective barrier. Now that's not for everyone, I get that. The whole point of lacquer strips is that they are crazy easy and that you just go boop, 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 boop. If you want that crazy easy option and you don't want to put a base coat underneath your lacquer strip, because a lacquer strip should have a base coat on it anyway, it does have a base coat. The base coat just doesn't agree with my nails, and if you have similar nails to me, then you're probably going to find the same thing, which is why I'm bringing it up. But if you don't want to use a base coat underneath the base coat of your lacquer strip, then you can use gel strips. I've had zero issues with these at all. They go on almost exactly the same as your lacquer strips, except they work kind of like a wrap. So they're far more pliable. You can bend and pull them and everything like that. They last ages, they don't chip, and they don't dry out. See this? They just come like this, and you can just leave them out like wraps, and I love them. But I wanted to make everyone aware of these 5 truths about lacquer strips, and they are all fixable or avoidable as long as you're aware of them. And they can be an amazing product for everyone, but you need to be aware of how to store them, how to remove them correctly, so that you don't end up tragically with sad nails. I don't want you to have sad nails like me. And you also need to know that about the temperature and stuff like that. So please sing out if you have any questions. I hope that that was helpful for everybody. I would love to know what your experiences are, especially with lacquer strips, with gel strips. If you have tried these, I definitely prefer gel strips and wraps over lacquer strips. But I've got girls who absolutely adore lacquer strips. If you are one of those girls, I would love to know how you've gone with removing them. And yeah, that's it. So please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I would love to see you back. I post up every single week, and I will be probably posting up twice this week because I'm a bit excited. So that's it from me, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by.